Hi guys, today I'll be showing you the basics regarding DHCP Server. We'll show you how to go about actually installing the DHCP role, as well as a few other things like what's the scope, what's an exclusion, what's a reservation, and all that kinds of things. So first of all, I'm running server 2019 as you guys can see here. So at the moment, this is pretty much a blank server for the most part. There's nothing really going on here. Normally, if you've got any roles installed on your server, you would normally see them here on the left-hand side. Also here, more or less in the middle here, the bottom. At the moment, there's absolutely nothing installed. So for the most part, a server is not really a server until you actually go and add what we call a role. So if you just go and install a blank server like I did, now it's pretty much the same as a client operating system. It's the same as Windows 10. I can go and browse my Facebook now if I really want to. Pretty much the same story. So as soon as I go and add a role, I'm going to give it a role to play on the network, the role of a DHCP server, or the role of an Active Directory, or whatever the case might be. So for now, today, I'm going to show you where to go and add a role. So first of all, you can either do it here in the middle where it says, that number 2, where it says add roles and features. Or you can go here to the top right hand side where it says manage. You can go and say add roles and features. Or you can, that's the place where you go and remove roles, by the way. It's literally the same steps, it's just in reverse. I'm going to go click on add roles and features. We want to add the DHCP. We go next, next, next. And here you will find a list with a lot of roles that's effectively available on this server that you can go ahead and install. You can see there's pretty much nothing installed. So the one we are looking for is the DHCP. So there we go. There's the DHCP role. I'm going to go and tick that little bugger. There we go. And what I like about Microsoft is the fact that they go and automatically select any features that you may or may not need for a specific role. So perhaps I don't have experience of server. Maybe I've never worked with a specific role. Whatever your specific situation might be, this is very nice from Microsoft's perspective, in my opinion. The fact that they automatically select features that I may or may not need for that specific role. So you can obviously go and add features extra afterwards, but that's the ones I need for DHCP. So I'm going to go ahead and click on add features. And if you go click on next, that's going to take us to the actual features page where Microsoft just went and automatically ticked any features that I may or may not need. So you can see there is one of them, the remote server administration tools. That box is ticked, but you can see it's not installed. This is what it looks like once it's installed. I mean, look, there's a random one, system data archive. You can see it looks like it's installed. So that's what it would have looked like if it was already installed. At the moment, I can see it's not installed. So this thing is about to go ahead and install that once I proceed. So that got automatically ticked on my behalf, which is very nice from Microsoft. I'm going to go ahead and click on next. Next. And yeah, no, fuck it. I don't want to restart. Install. Give it some time to do its thing. This part can take a while. It really depends on how much resources you've allocated to your machine in a sense of, RAM. So if you're doing this on the virtual machine like I am at the moment, this is a virtual machine on my computer. So how much RAM have you allocated to your server? How many other roles do you currently have running on your server? All of those are factors that you need to take into account when you're about to go and add a role. It's also best practice to go and combine a light role with a heavy role. Don't go put a bunch of heavy roles onto one server because that could potentially overload it to a point where it's not going to perform like the way you want it to. Hell, it might even crash the server for all we know. So for those of you that don't know what a DHCP is, that is a role you install on the server that's effectively going to allow it to dish out IP, so to speak. So under normal circumstances, you can go and get yourself an IP address via two ways. You can either go to your network and sharing center and go and allocate it to yourself manually, which will be considered a static IP address. I can show you where to go and do that. So if I were to go here, nowadays I see it's not network and sharing center anymore, it's now network and internet settings. So you're probably gonna have to browse to the network and sharing center. That's fine, I'll show you guys how to get there. So whether you will find network and sharing center here at the bottom or whether you see network and internet settings depends on how up to date your server is or how up to date your Windows 10 is, depending on which one you're doing this on. Alright, so this is basically taking me to what we call the settings app. I'm gonna scroll down, there's network and sharing center. Give it a moment. Taking some time. Here we go, it looks like something's happening. I think it's probably because I'm busy installing a role in the background, so it's a little bit delayed. So there you go, this is going to effectively show you the network cards you've got. At the moment in this server I've only got one. That's an internal switch for those of you that know your different kinds of switches in Hyper-V. So I did not want to go ahead and choose an external switch because I don't want this DHCP actually dishing out IPs in my environment once this thing actually goes live. So private and internal switches, that's going to pretty much restrict it to this host. So I'm going to go click on Internet or Ethernet, properties. Oh yeah. Scroll down to that IP version 4. So you'll find this IP version 6 is not the one we're going to be using, but that one came out around the end of 2008, beginning of 2009, if I'm not mistaken. I think the first time I saw that was around Vista's time. Vista, some people know it. So we're going to go to IP version 4. That's the one we're looking for. Properties. There we go. So what we see here, that's the default option that most computers will be on. Desktops, laptops, hell, phones and tablets will even be on that. That's automatically. So if you want, you can go here, which says use the following IP address. This will allow you to manually choose your own IP address. Something in the lines of 192.168.0, I don't know, let's say 3, for example. So that is considered a static IP address. It'll stay like that until myself or someone else comes onto this machine one day and manually comes and changes it. Other than that, never going to change. If I were to go with the default option, which is the default for most devices, that means this machine doesn't currently have an IP address. So as soon as I connect to a network of sorts, if I plug a cable into this device, if I connect this to a Wi-Fi frequency of sorts, whatever the situation might be, it's going to ask for an IP address. Where is it going to get it from? The DHCP server. So the DHCP server is going to issue it with an IP address. And regardless of whether you are allocating this statically or dynamically being DHCP instead of the manual one, regardless of which one you use, both of them are considered private IP addresses. So if you want to know what the private and public IP address is, you're more than welcome to watch that video. I'll probably be uploading that within about a day or two. So just go and check out the video that says private and public IP addresses, where I will explain in depth what the difference is and how you can go about actually using them. So for now, I'm going to leave it on automatically because I want to use a DHCP. I'm going to leave it on that. In real life, you'll notice if you're going to be doing this on a server, servers generally have a static IP address. So you normally want to give a server a static IP address. And then everything else in your domain, if you're talking about domains here, client devices, tablets, phones, whatever, they will generally have dynamic IP addresses for the most part. So whenever someone in the organization connects to the Wi-Fi, plugs in a cable, they'll automatically get an IP address for the most part and be able to do whatever it is they need to go and do. So I'm just going to go ahead and close this for now. Close that up. Check how far my installation is. It's almost done. So yeah, as I was saying, DHCP, it's a role installed on the server. It allows you to go and dish out IP addresses. And once you go and dish out IP addresses, where does it actually get this from? It's a scope. So the scope, which we'll show you in a few moments, is the range. From where to where am I going to be issuing IP addresses? How many IP addresses do I have available? So you can specify how many IP addresses you have available. If I'm going to go and make the pool 50 IP addresses for argument's sake, you get to choose. You can think of it as a parking lot at a mall. All of you guys have seen the parking lot, especially when it's payday. So you're driving up and down the mall's parking lot looking for a parking. Nowhere can you find a parking because all of them are taken by cars. So what you're going to do, you're going to basically wait until someone leaves their parking. And once they leave that parking, you can occupy that parking space. It's pretty much the same principle of the DHCP. If there's only a certain amount of IP addresses available, which is the same as a parking space, you've got to wait for one of them to free up, just like that parking space I was just mentioning a few moments ago. So once one of those free IP addresses goes up, then you can go ahead and grab it. So this will likely happen automatically for the most part. So I'm going to go ahead and click on close. Here we go. There we go. So there you can see there's DHCP. It's installed. It's green. That's good. It's not fully up and running yet, but it's installed. That's a start. On the left hand side there you can see there's a role installed. That's also good. That's good. And here way at the top of the notification section you can see there's a little exclamation mark there. It's basically trying to get my attention, I suppose. It's kind of like the wife when she wants me to take out the trash. She's going to somehow try to get my attention. And I'm going to pretend not to listen to her and just put headphones on. So I'm going to go ahead and click on notifications there. It probably wants me to go and configure DHCP. Yes, we can see that. Complete DHCP configuration. It's probably going to be taking me into the DHCP console most likely after that. So let's go into DHCP configuration, basic settings. I'm going to go click on commit. Yes, let's commit. There we go. So now DHCP is for the most part installed. It's in no way functional anyway. We need to go and create a scope first, reservations, exclusions, all that kind of things. So how do we actually get to DHCP once it's installed? You're going to have to go to the DHCP console, and that can be found way at the top where it says tools, look for the one that says DHCP. There we go. It's not going to be visible if you did not install the DHCP role. So there we go. DHCP is there. It's going to take me to the DHCP console, as some people might know it. Give it a moment. It's a bit slow. I think I should have allocated more RAM to this virtual machine, come to think of it. I think for the next video I'll try and allocate more RAM for you guys so that it's not so delayed. There we go. I've got a lot of other servers running in the background, so I need to make sure that I've got enough RAM for those as well. So this is pretty much the most default setup you will see for DHCP. So if this is an actual production environment in real life, you'll probably have an actual server name there, a proper name, for that company or for your server. Mine is just, well, bleh, random, because I just made this server, so it's pretty random is for the most part what it is. So there you get to choose which one you want to go and configure, IP version 4 or 6. Obviously we're dealing with 4 now. I'm going to expand that, and that's pretty much as default as it gets. It doesn't get more default than that. So once I actually go ahead and create myself a scope, as some people might know it, the range, how many IPs do I have and from where to where, that's going to be an additional folder or container there of sorts. So how do I actually go about creating a scope? You go right click on IP version 4. There's an option there that says new scope. So I want to create a new range. That's what we want. Here we go. It does make things a lot easier if you have a basic understanding of networking. And even a lot more easier if you understand subnetting. Subnetting is really going to help you guys a lot. So if you want to know more about IP addresses or more about subnetting, please drop a comment below. Let me know if you want to know more about that, then I'll make a video. I'll probably eventually end up making a video about that anyway, out of boredom. Most countries are under lockdown at the moment. So out of pure boredom, I'll probably end up making it eventually anyway. But if that's one of the first ones you would like to see, drop a comment below. Let me know. Next. Alright, so what do I want to call this scope? And in this moment, I don't think it really matters. I'm going to call it the same as my channel, Burning Ice Tech. But in reality, you're probably going to have to go and check, what are you going to be using this scope for? Because some companies may or may not have more than one scope here. So most companies I've dealt with in my experience, they only have one scope. But if they have more than one department or more than one building, but they only have one DHCP, you might have more than one scope, and you need to maybe name them accordingly. So for now, I'm just going to call it Burning Ice Tech. This is just a demonstration. Next. So this is the part where I mentioned where I think you guys need to have some level of subnetting experience or some level of basic IP addressing experience. Not into the world if you don't. If you want to know more how to go and do that, you can always pop me a comment or send me a personal message. It doesn't really matter. I'll help you guys out. So for now, I'm going to go type in 192.168.0. And where do I want to start from? So I'm going to make it about 20. And where do I want to end? 192.168.0, and hell, let's make it 50. Here we go. So what's going to happen here now is if someone or something gets an IP address from this DHCP that we are busy currently creating, they will get an IP address, and it will be something between 20 and something between 50. So that leaves us about roughly plus minus 30 IP addresses that we've got available there. So 30 parking spaces, that mall we were talking about there. That's what we got here effectively. So once those 30 parking spaces are used up, occupied by cars, in this case, the IP addresses have been taken by devices, when device number 31 or 32, they're going to have to wait in the queue until they get an IP address, and then they will be able to access devices, resources, or the internet for that matter. Okay, so you can see here where at the bottom it says 222.55.0. For those of you that know subnetting, that's a Class C IP address. That's pretty much the most default Class C you can get. That's a full Class C IP address. And if there's a 0 at the back, that's what tells me it's a full Class C. And the fact that I see 3 255s in the front, that is a Class C. If you see 2, that's Class B. If you only see the first one that's 255, that will probably be considered Class A. It does not matter what the other numbers are. As long as they are not 255, that's going to tell you whether it's a Class A or Class B or Class C IP address. So what you make the number here at the back, that's going to subdivide my subnetting. In other words, that's where the subnetting actually comes from. Not something I'm going to discuss in this little tutorial of mine. I'll discuss that in the next ones. So if you let me know if you want to know more about that. But for now, the fact that I've got a 0 there, that means I've got the full Class C to myself, which consists of about 256 IP addresses. Now that's actually 254. You count from 0 all the way to 255, which gives you 256. And in each subnet, each range or each network effectively, you can never use the first one or the last one. They're reserved, for network ID and broadcast address and those kinds of things. So for now, I'm going to leave it at that. Otherwise, I'm going to confuse people. So should someone get an IP from this DHCP, it'll be somewhere between 20 and 50. That's basically what this means. And the fact that I've got 3 255s there, that tells me it's Class C, which means all three, my first digits there, which we call them octets. All three of those octets will be the same for everyone. So everyone's IP address will be 192.168.0 and then something. That something will be anything between 20 and 50, obviously, here. So I'm going to go click on next. Exclusions. So in that range that we've just specified from 20 to 50, is there any IP address that I wish to not dish out for some reason? Maybe I've statically, in other words, manually assigned that IP address to someone or something. It could be that I've statically assigned the IP address 25. Number 25 was in that range. So maybe I've assigned the IP address 25 to a server. Servers normally have static IP addresses. Maybe it's been assigned to a printer, an access point or something. Hell, it could even be a firewall. So if you don't want that IP address to be dished out because you've used it elsewhere for whatever else, you can go and type it in here, 192.168.0. I said what, 25? Let's go 25. 25, 192.168.0, and you just have the same IP twice. If it's a range of IP addresses, we want to try and keep them close to one another, like 25, 26, 27. Then you can just type in the whole range there, 25 all the way to 27. So it will look something like this, 192.168.0. Let's say 26 because I already used 25. 192.168.0, and then all the way, let's say, to 29. It'll throw in that whole darn range. You can see that. So unfortunately, life is not always like that. Life does not always work like that. It might be that there is 3 or 4 IP addresses I need to go and exclude, but they will not follow one another, like that. It will be zigzag all over the place. So then you're gonna have to go and add them one by one individually, which is a nightmare. It's a pain in the neck, trust me. So for now, I'm satisfied with that. That's just to show you what an exclusion is. That might be a server. That IP address is maybe allocated to a server statically. Based on past experience, I can tell you normally the servers use the first few IPs, like 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those first ones, which is why I skipped those in the beginning. Next, the lease. I actually forgot to mention this in the description, mind you. So the lease, you can think of this as leasing a house, a rental agreement. Normally for most countries and most places, it's about 12 months. It could be less, it could be more. And generally speaking, when that lease comes to an end, what do? You either have to go and renew the lease to be able to stay there further, use whatever that is, or you need to get the F out. Get the F out. That's pretty much what happens. So it's similar to that. So the lease here, I specify how long that IP address is valid for. Now, if you went and did what I showed you earlier, the manual IP address, the static one, it'll stay like that permanently until you or someone changes it and it never expires. Now, with IP addresses that you get from the DHCP, they've got an expiry date on them. Kind of like a pack of meat or something. They expire after a certain period. Now I can see here the default period is about, what is that, 8 days? 9 days. Okay, Microsoft went and changed that. On the previous version of Server 2016, that used to be 8 days. Now I see on Server 2019, it's 9 days. And if you go check on some of the previous versions, it's not Server 2012 R2, I think even older than that. If I'm not mistaken, I think there was a time when it was 1 day, 2 days, and then 72 hours, 3 days like that. Not that it matters. From experience, I can tell you companies normally make that 1 day. That's the most common value I've seen is about 1 day. So the default's 9 days. I don't recommend you do that for security reasons. Something that I'll discuss in another video. So for now, leave it on 1 day. So what's going to happen is if this individual gets an IP address on their device, it could be any device, phone, tablet, desktop, laptop. Let's say it's a desktop. If they get an IP address, it'll work. They'll be able to access other people on the network. They'll be able to access the internet and all that kinds of stuff. And if they happen to leave this device on for more than 24 hours, which is the time I've just specified there, they leave it on for more than 24 hours, it will expire. So if you were to go and check your IP address at that point in time, you'll see, but I've got an IP address. Why can I not access the internet? It's because it's expired. You need to go and renew it. And how that can happen is you can either go and disconnect from the Wi-Fi or unplug the cable, whichever it is you're using, and then simply just replugging it in. That will ask for a new IP address, or at the very least, renew it. Another way to go about doing it is to just simply turn off the machine and turn it back on. You might have heard that IT joke a lot, when they ask you, have you tried turning it off and on again? Surprisingly, it fixes a lot of issues. Trust me, it fixes a lot of issues. It doesn't just fix the IP address. So when you turn the machine off, it releases that IP address you currently have. It releases it back into the pool. So that pool of 50 IP addresses that I've got, it releases it back. It says, there you go, back to the pool. And as soon as the PC starts back up, restart in other words, it asks for a new IP address. So the machine is going to connect to the network, going to say, hey, is there anyone out there? And DHCP is going to reply and it's going to say, yes, I'm here. How can I help you? So I need an IP address. And DHCP is going to give an IP address, assuming there's one available, obviously. Luckily for most of us, most of the time there will be an IP address available. But I've had quite a few times where there was not. It's rare that happens. Normally companies plan for it. If there's not IP addresses available, it's probably because they did that on purpose for security reasons. But generally, I've seen most companies, there's enough IP addresses available. So for now, that's what a lease is. Another way you can go and resolve that manually, because some people sometimes find themselves in a situation where they cannot go and restart the machine. Maybe you've got documents open that you cannot save. There's a program you cannot go and close. So it's a very easy method for that. You can just go into command prompt, assuming mine actually opens here. God damn it, this server is slow. I really need to allocate more RAM to it next time. One day when it opens, I'll show you guys. Ah, there we go. Cortana, my trusty little bitch. There you go. Come, Cortana! God damn it! Oh boy, no, Cortana's really not my guy. That's probably because I swear at Cortana now. So now she's doing like the wife. She's just misbehaving on me, the bitch. Cortana, don't be like it. Come, baby. Baby, don't be like that. That's what happens. I think my car does the same thing. You know, whenever I swear at my car, it does the same shit. It just stops working. So I should probably stop swearing at my computer or stop swearing at my car. Then it'll stop doing this shit to me. Alright, I'll get back to this one most likely. Let me see if I can just go open it via Task Manager instead. It'll probably be easier just to go and start it via Task Manager because Cortana is not really playing ball here. So let's just go to more details. Let's just start that son of a bitch from here. cmd.exe. There we go. Fuck you, Cortana. There we go. Yeah, see? Fuck you, Cortana. I don't need you. So there we go. ipconfig slash all will give you an overview of all your network information. If you just go and type in ipconfig, it's going to give you a basic overview of your IP address. Now, what I wanted to show you is how do you release and renew it via command prompt. Now, if you go type in ipconfig slash release, that will release the IP address. That's like turning off the computer. Now, that's not going to resolve the whole problem. After that, once it's been released, the release takes about 2-3 seconds. You need to go and type in ipconfig slash renew. That's a second command on a new line. You need to go and type that. That's going to do the same as starting up your computer. It's going to say, hello, I need an IP address. The renew command I've seen can take anywhere between 2 seconds to up to 5 or 10 minutes. So, personal experience, I can tell you, it's actually quicker just to restart the damn machine. Just restart that bitch. If you can, restart. If you really can't, you know, maybe you've got a weird fussy client, use this. You know, that'll resolve that issue. So, if you don't have an IP address, you know, for whatever reason, maybe the cable was unplugged, the Wi-Fi was disconnected, the DHCP was off, whatever the case might be, you can skip the release command and just go straight to renew. Alright, so I am going to go and close that bitch up. I'm going to go to next. I'll configure this later. Next. Finito. So there we go. So for the most part, my scope has been configured with exclusions. Now you'll notice there's a little icon there. You know, I can, if I have to squint my eyes, you can see it looks like a little white circle, a little red arrow pointing downwards. I'm not wearing my glasses, but that's what it looks like. So what that effectively means is this scope is not, it's not activated. It's not going to grab. It's not going to take. So this is more for testing purposes. If you want that scope to actually work, you're most likely going to have to activate that son of a bitch. So right click on that bitch. Go click on activate. Come now. Scope, don't be like that. Right click on it, click on activate. Once you activate it, you can think of that as a safety switch on a gun. You know, a gun generally, you know, doesn't fire unless you take the safety off the gun. So it's loaded, but it might not fire. Same with a DHCP. So if the DHCP has not been activated, the safety is still on. You need to take the safety off and then the DHCP can fire. It can dish out IP addresses accordingly. So I'm not going to go ahead and do that yet. There we go. So if I click on the address pool one there now, that's going to show me my range. You can see the first one there says 20 all the way to 50. And you can see way on the right there it says address range for distribution. So that's the range I've got. Here at the bottom, if you have exclusions, they will be listed here. You can see I've excluded 25. It says IP address is excluded from distribution. Now, if you later on, because this always happens in companies where later on there's other device you need to go and add. If you happen to find another device you need to go and exclude, you can always do it afterwards. It's not an issue. You simply just right click on address pool. You click on the option that says new exclusion. And you do the same story there. So let's say it's the IP address 50. We go 192.168.0 and let's make it 50. That's a new printer or it's a new server that you want to go and allocate that IP address to statically. So we don't want to dish that out. Otherwise you can have an IP address conflict. Add and voila. It is done. So that's how you go and add an exclusion. There's something else you also get which is similar, not quite the same. It's called a reservation. So if you go and reserve an IP address, that IP address will be dished out to a device. But it'll always be the same IP to the same device. So that's something like a printer. You know, if I go and install a printer today, and let's say it gets the IP address 15 for argument's sake. I install this printer today, it gets the IP address 15, and I'm able to print. It might actually work on the first day because it knows where it needs to go. Now tomorrow, remember this lease is normally 24 hours. So tomorrow the printer gets a new IP address automatically, and when you go and click on print, what's going to happen? Nothing. Nothing's going to happen. So you're going to have to go and either reinstall that printer so that it gets the new damn IP address, or you're going to have to go and reserve that IP address so that it gets the same IP every day. So how you go about reserving it, you can see there's a little folder here that actually says reservations. There we go. Right click, new reservations. There we go. So you can pretty much call it whatever you want. But if this is a large company or you've got a lot of devices, I'd suggest you give this a proper name. So if this is going to be a printer, because it might not just be you. If you're a technician, I take it some of you guys are technicians watching this. Some of you guys might be. Some of you guys just fooling around. If you're a technician and your client or your environment has got a lot of devices, give that bitch a proper name. Because you are going to find yourself in a situation where you or someone else are going to go through all of this later on. You're going to be wondering, why the hell did I reserve this IP address? What is this? Is this something malicious? So name it properly. So printer, which one? Because they might have more than one. So let's say it's the one at reception. So now when you or someone else comes down the line here, whether it be 6 months later or 5 years later, and they see this reservation, will be like, what the fuck? They'll know, oh yeah, I get it. Reception printer. I gotcha. So now 192.168.0, which IP do I want to reserve? So my scope goes from 20 to 50. We've already excluded 25 and 30, so hell, let's make it 35. So the printer's IP address is 35 for argument's sake. Now how we actually reserve the IP address or give it the same IP address is you need to get the MAC address for that device. There's many ways you can go about getting the MAC address. I'll show you that in one of the next few videos, but one of the tools you can go use is Advanced IP Scanner. It's a free tool, it's not illegal, it's freeware. Very small in size. I can't remember the exact size. I think it's anywhere between 1 megabyte and 5 megabytes. So once you've downloaded that free tool, you can go around and Google search for a Bingnet. Once you've downloaded that tool, I'll try and put it in the description for you guys, the tool. I don't know if it's going to work. I'll try and put the link in the description for you guys down below. Assuming I find it after I've compiled this video for you guys. But just check the link in the description below. If there's a link, maybe you're lucky. Maybe I've managed to find it and I'll put it down there. I know a second one as well. You actually get NetScan as well. You get NetScan and Advanced IP Scanner. Both of them are extremely small in size. You can either install them or run them as is. I recommend just running them as is because it's not like you're going to use them every day. And yeah, it's small enough to fit on a phone, flash drive, anywhere like it. And it's freeware. And it's legal. It's not illegal software. It's not hacking, although I suppose you can use it for hacking if you know what you're doing. So go and use the, let's say, Advanced IP Scanner. That's one of the tools you can go and use. Scan the network where the printer's on. So you need to know subnetting for that. So you need to be very good at networking. So you're going to scan the network, knowing what the network is. If it's a Class C network, you know it's going to be 192.168.0. That's the range. And it's all the way from 1 to 254. When you scan that range, effectively, Advanced IP Scanner, I'll show you that in the next few videos. And once you scan it, it'll show you all the devices you've got on your network. It's going to show you all the computers, laptops, desktops, phones, IP phones, printers, servers, it's going to show you access points. It's going to show you pretty much everything on the network. So you just look for the one that looks like it's a printer. So if it's a Samsung, a Konica, Minolta, whatever the printer's brand or make is, just look for it. It's going to show you its current IP address and it's going to show you its MAC address. MAC addresses don't change, at least they're not supposed to. As I say, you're not supposed to be able to change the MAC address. It's set in stone, and I'll tell you otherwise. It's bullshit. You can change a MAC address. There's many ways. So if you'd like to know how to do that, drop a comment below and ask me, and then I'll let you know how to go and do that. But a MAC address can be spoofed. Spoofed is, pretending to be... You can just change it to a random one, and there's actually ways where you can choose someone's MAC address. In other words, you can get past firewalls and things like that. So, something I'll leave for another day. So get that MAC address. It's going to show you the printer's MAC address. Dump it in there. Go click on add. And voila, you will effectively have a reserved IP address. So the one we've reserved then, I didn't actually go ahead there because I don't have a MAC address. But it would have reserved the IP address number 35 for the printer. It's going to issue that out every 24 hours to the same device over and over and over again. Pretty much what happens there. So all that's left here for me to go and do effectively now is I just need to go and make sure I put this on activate. And for this server to actually work, if you guys are familiar with Hyper-V, you would know you're going to have to go and use a Hyper-V switch, which is an external type. You get 3 types of switches in Hyper-V if you're using Microsoft's virtualization software. Now, you don't have to use Microsoft. You can go use VMware. You can go use Oracle, VirtualBox, VirtualPC. There's so many kinds out there. If you'd like to know how to do this on one of those platforms, please let me know. Then I'll do a video for you guys. It's very easy. But for the most part, if we're talking Hyper-V, which is Microsoft's virtualization platform, you need to go and create yourself a switch, which is the network for the virtual machine, and it needs to be of external. It can be done by internal, but there's a lot of extra steps you're going to have to go and do. You're going to basically have to bunny hop to the host first and then to the outside world. Not something I'll discuss now. So external, that's going to give the virtual machine full-blown access to the outside world, any other virtual machine, any other host for that matter. If you are going to be using internal, virtual machines can only talk to one another and the host which they're running on. If you're going to use a private switch, they can only talk to one another, the virtual machines, and that's it. End of story. It's like a lockdown during quarantine, kind of think about it. Anyway, yeah, so for now, I'm not going to activate it because I don't have an external switch here. And quite frankly, I don't feel like dishing out IP addresses in my network and fucking up my own network here. So be careful when you activate, because this thing is legitimately going to go dish out IP addresses. And be careful, if you're an external switch, then you might potentially break a network. So if you're going to do this for testing purposes, I recommend use a private switch or an internal switch. Let me know if you'd like to know more about that. So if you guys found this useful, please give me a like, subscribe. I'll be uploading a lot of videos. I'll try and do that one every 1 to 3 days for you guys about something technical. It's going to be about random topics for the most part. But if you'd like to know something specific, drop me a comment and I can focus on those ones first. It'll give me an idea where to go and focus first. So yeah, thank you guys. And that's effectively me.